Alex Eala's Beige Filipiniana at the Laureus Madrid didn't just turn heads, it detonated an entire nation. The moment that dress hit the Palacio de Cibeles red carpet, every search engine in the Philippines simultaneously caught fire. Nobody anticipated that a 20-year-old tennis prodigy, ranked 44th in the world, would walk onto the most prestigious sports red carpet on Earth and make the entire country forget to breathe. Nobody expected that 7 yards of blush chiffon and a piña bolero, completed in under a week, shipped from Manila to Madrid in days, crafted by a beloved uncle, would become the single most electrifying cultural moment Philippine fashion had witnessed in decades. Yet the moment those butterfly sleeves caught the Palacio's light and the images struck every timeline, the Philippines didn't just celebrate an athlete. They witnessed themselves reflected brilliantly in one extraordinary woman. Stay locked in, because this story isn't simply about a dress. It's about identity, heritage, family, and a young Filipina who understood that greatness on a global stage demands more than talent. It demands truth. Before a single thread of chiffon was cut, before Rhett Eala's hands ever touched the fabric, the invitation itself carried monumental weight. The Laureus World Sports Awards have been held annually since 2000, gathering the most decorated, most electrifying athletes across every discipline the planet produces. Tennis royalty, Olympic champions, motorsport legends, footballers whose names echo through stadiums holding 100,000 voices. This isn't simply a ceremony, it's widely recognized as the Oscars of sport. Walking through those doors means the global sporting establishment has acknowledged your existence as something worth commemorating. For Alex Eala, the invitation arrived during a season already dense with pressure, expectation, and the relentless grind of professional competition. She'd just navigated a clay season opening that demanded constant adjustment. Linz, Stuttgart, Madrid, all presenting different challenges, different opponents, different questions about whether her game could translate fully onto a surface historically resistant to her natural attacking instincts. And suddenly, threaded between tournament weeks and practice blocks and strategic conversations with coaches, appeared an invitation to stand alongside Carlos Alcaraz, Aryna Sabalenka, Novak Djokovic, and Eileen Gu at one of Madrid's most breathtaking architectural landmarks. At 20, most athletes would treat that invitation as a glamorous interruption, a photo opportunity, something pleasant wedged between training sessions. Eala treated it as a responsibility. She'd carried the Philippines on her shoulders across courts in Dubai, Miami, Indian Wells, Melbourne. She'd represented Filipino pride through every comeback victory, every moment where pressure threatened to buckle someone less rooted. But this, a global red carpet, broadcast internationally, photographed obsessively, analyzed across fashion media that stretched far beyond tennis audiences, this was different terrain entirely. Different because it wasn't contested through racket and footwork. It was contested through choice. And the choice she made, the choice that preceded the dress, the seamstress, the flight across continents, was the choice that defined everything. She would step on that carpet as completely, unapologetically Filipino as it was possible to be. She would wear a Filipiniana, her first international red carpet, her first major global fashion moment, and it would be wrapped entirely in the nation that built her. That decision, made weeks before anyone outside her inner circle knew it existed, would ignite the most extraordinary fashion conversation the Philippines had generated in a generation. But first, a dress needed to be born in 6 days. Here is where the story shifts from spectacular to sacred. Alex Eala didn't call a luxury European fashion house. She didn't engage a celebrity stylist commanding 5-figure consultation fees. She didn't scroll through international designer portfolios searching for something that telegraphed global prestige. She picked up her phone and called her uncle. Rhett Eala, celebrated Filipino fashion designer, craftsman of pieces worn on significant occasions across Philippine society, received a request unlike anything a family member typically delivers. His niece, ranked among the top 50 female tennis players alive, preparing to attend what commentators globally describe as sport's greatest night, wanted him to design and deliver a complete Filipiniana ensemble, one that would photograph magnificently under international press lighting, one that captured tradition without surrendering contemporary elegance, one that would allow her, if she chose, to shed the formal bolero later and simply dance. And the timeline? Approximately 6 days. What followed was a collaboration that blended family devotion, professional mastery, and sheer physical determination into something extraordinary. Alex sent sketches, articulated her vision clearly, something Filipino, something in piña, the delicate fiber woven from pineapple leaf extracted by Filipino artisans across generations, a fabric so intrinsically tied to Filipino formal identity that its presence alone communicates cultural seriousness. She wanted the waistcut, she wanted the butterfly sleeves of the classic terno silhouette rendered in detachable bolero form, allowing her control over her own comfort through the evening. Rhett Eala delivered beyond those specifications. He constructed a floor-length blush beige chiffon gown, strapless, fluid, carrying the softness of the fabric into every movement. Soft pleats adorned the bodice. The waistcut arrived exactly as requested, architectural without being severe, personal without being indulgent. The piña bolero materialized with those iconic terno butterfly sleeves, simultaneously the most recognizable symbol of Philippine formal dress, and, in Rhett Eala's hands, something genuinely contemporary, something a 20-year-old athlete with 1.75 meters of elegant height could carry with complete confidence across one of Europe's grandest venues. It took a few days before we finally had to ship the dress to Madrid, Rhett recalled afterward, the quiet pride of an uncle unmistakable beneath every measured word. The package crossed continents, the dress arrived, and Alex Eala, standing in a Madrid hotel room, held in her arms a piece of family, a piece of heritage, and a piece of something far larger than fashion. She wrote about it with the kind of transparency that resonates far beyond celebrity. I doubt there are many pieces of clothing that make a Filipina feel more beautiful than a Filipiniana. For my first major red carpet appearance at the Laureus Sports Awards, I chose to wear this look as a quiet nod to where I come from and what I carry when I step into rooms like those. A quiet nod. Those two words carried the volume of an entire people's collective pride.
Strip away the celebrity reactions, the trending metrics, the fashion editorial coverage, and the record search volumes, and what remains at the center of this story? A daughter of the Philippines standing on the world's largest sports stage, refusing to dress like belonging required abandoning her roots. That refusal matters profoundly because the pressure on young athletes from nations outside the traditional Western sporting establishment is rarely articulated publicly, but it exists with immense weight, an unspoken expectation that global acceptance requires global homogeneity, that to compete alongside the world's elite, a player must look, present, and carry herself according to the aesthetic conventions those elite circles recognize and reward. Luxury European fashion, internationally recognized designer names, neutral, universal glamour that doesn't challenge audiences with cultural specificity. Alex Eala rejected that entirely, consciously, completely, with the calm confidence of someone who had thought through the meaning of the rejection long before the opportunity arrived. She had said it clearly in her interview with Tennis Channel. I always had this dream that when I'm on a red carpet, I'll wear what's called a Filipiniana. It's my first major red carpet, and this is the time. She waited for the right moment. She chose her uncle as the artisan. She insisted on piña, a fabric whose production requires hand processing of pineapple leaf fiber by Philippine craftspeople whose skill represents centuries of accumulated knowledge. She insisted on the terno butterfly sleeves, the silhouette element that makes a Filipiniana unmistakable from any distance in any photograph against any background. She chose visibility. For herself, for her heritage, for the millions of Filipinos who have spent their entire lives watching global stages fill with representations of everywhere except home. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for paving the way and inspiring countless others, she wrote in her Laureus post, words directed at the athletes surrounding her that evening, but absorbed by her country people as something simultaneously directed inward. Andy Roddick had already acknowledged Eala's extraordinary global following and virality on his podcast. The tennis world's most experienced commentators noted how her match tickets disappeared, how her presence filled venues with passionate Filipino communities materializing from nowhere. But the Filipiniana moment transcended sport entirely. It reached Philippine grandmothers who had never tracked a WTA ranking. It reached fashion students dissecting construction techniques at Manila design academies. It reached diaspora communities gathering around phones in apartments thousands of miles from the archipelago, watching butterfly sleeves catch a European evening's light and feeling, with an almost physical force, something like home. That is what fashion does when wielded with intention. It doesn't simply clothe, it communicates, it argues, it declares without a single spoken syllable exactly where a person stands and who they choose to remain, regardless of which stage they're invited to occupy. She called it a quiet nod, but quiet nods, when delivered from the Palacio de Cibeles to a nation of 115 million people watching their phone screens at midnight, have a tendency to echo. What Alex Eala established at the 2026 Laureus World Sports Awards isn't simply a fashion record or a viral moment or even a beloved story that Philippine media will recount at anniversary. She established a precedent, a blueprint, evidence delivered in blush chiffon and hand-woven piña that occupying the world's grandest stages doesn't require erasing the coordinates of your origin. She is, as the diarist described, the first Filipina to land inside the WTA's top 50 during the Open era. That distinction belongs to her athletically, but the Laureus moment added a dimension that rankings don't capture. She is, now, undeniably, a cultural ambassador whose choices on and off the court actively shape how Filipino identity is perceived by a global audience that extends far beyond tennis enthusiasts. Madison Keys saw elegance. Jessica Pegula saw royalty. The Philippine fashion industry saw validation, proof that its craftspeople, its fabrics, its centuries-old sartorial language deserves placement on stages previously reserved for European couture and American designer luxury. Rhett Eala saw his niece carry something personal and familial into the world's most photographed evening and return it transformed into heritage on display. And the Philippines saw something rarer still, itself, reflected with love and pride and deliberate intention by one of its own daughters in a room full of the world's greatest. The Beige Filipiniana searches haven't stopped. Inquiries about piña fabric production have multiplied. Conversation about the terno's historical journey from colonial-era adaptation through independence-era reclamation to this extraordinary 2026 moment has reached audiences who had never previously encountered the garment. Rhett Eala's name travels now through fashion circles that previously might not have known it. And the Laureus red carpet image of Alex Eala, butterfly sleeves extended, height commanding, composure absolute, circulates as something approaching an emblem. The dress will hang somewhere eventually, preserved perhaps because these things deserve preservation. But the idea it represented, the argument it made without a single spoken debate, that lives permanently now in the visual archive of what Filipino pride looks like when given an international stage worthy of its expression. She stepped into Madrid's grandest room and chose to bring her entire country with her. And the Philippines? Every single searching, celebrating, tearful, proud corner of it has never forgotten. So here's what deserves to settle in the comments below. Was Alex Eala's Beige Filipiniana simply the most beautiful dress on the most prestigious red carpet of 2026? Or was it the most powerful political statement any Filipino athlete has ever delivered without uttering a single word? Answer below. This conversation belongs to you. One dress, 6 days to create, shipped across continents, worn by a 20-year-old who understood exactly what it meant. Alex Eala didn't just attend the Laureus World Sports Awards, she transformed them into a moment Philippine history will carry forward. The Beige Filipiniana became more than fashion. It became declaration, proof that the world's greatest stages have room for every culture willing to stand fully, beautifully, unapologetically within its own identity. The court will produce more chapters. Rome awaits. Roland Garros follows. Rankings will shift. But this moment, butterfly sleeves against the Palacio de Cibeles, a nation searching for the dress, a tennis champion whispering quiet nod across the entire planet, this one belongs permanently to something bigger than sport. If that moved you, subscribe right now. Every week, we go beneath the headlines and find the real story, the human truth behind the greatest moments in women's tennis. Tap the bell. The next chapter is already building.